I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
Good day, Oops, the podcast fans. It's Oops. I'm Francis, and he's Giulio. G, hi.
What up, buddy? How are you?
Yeah, good. You're looking swell and chipper today.
I feel good, bro. I was lying out in the sun for a little bit.
Dude, it's nice. It's nice to get some rays right now, huh?
I need him, bro. You know, we both do, I think. You look good, too, though. You look like you got to be getting some sun.
Yeah, I got a little sun. One of our big activities is to take the convertible. My girlfriend's parents lent us a convertible, which has been our car. And it's one of those automatic ones. So you just hold down a button and it goes from being a car to a convertible. Yeah.
So,
it is fun.
What kind of convertible?
It's a BMW, but I don't know what number.
You don't know about cars either? I don't really either.
Not much. I used to.
Good for us.
When I was in middle school, I knew a little bit. I would read Car and Driver on airplanes.
Same, actually. That's funny.
Yeah. And then I realized that I'm not one of those people.
Me either.
Yeah.
It's liberating.
Yeah, it's nice.
Continue.
Nice.
Sorry.
That's okay. So we put the top down and we like to drive around. And now we'll drive like an hour and 15 minutes somewhere because we like the driving. That's what we do. Yeah. So we drove to a town called Boothbay. This was kind of funny, actually. I'm glad we're here because this is a funny story. So we drove to Boothbay, and I didn't tell my girlfriend, but I have this edible drink. It's like a THC lemonade that I bought, and I finished it. And there were probably, I don't know, like 30 or 40 milligrams left. And I drank it, and she drove us to Boothbay. It was like an hour and 15 minutes there. And then we got to this lovely, quaint town, classic Maine harbor side town. And we walked around. Most of the stuff was closed, but there was a convenience store from which we bought beers and put them in paper bags and walked around and drank as if we were in The Wire. And and then we found a brewery that was open, and my girlfriend loves beers. And so she likes these like hazy, heavy IPAs, like the stuff that you'd brew in the types of cars that we were just talking about, like in like the radiator of a car, you know? And so she went in there, and I stayed outside because we had a dog, and she did like a tasting and came out and had bought a growler, you know, beer, and was just like sipping that. And then we were like, okay, it's time to go home. And she was like, okay, you're driving. And I was like, I can't. And she was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I'm impossibly high right now. And she was like, well, I just drank like 3 beers in this tasting. And I was like, you went in and did a tasting? I didn't know she had done a tasting. So I made her suck it up, you know? Made her suck it up.
Dude, that's great.
Water and a couple swift smacks across the face. And we went home. We drove home. I was like, just keep it in cruise control. Stay in the right lane. We're going to be fine. If anyone comes, have an Altoid. We'll be fine, you know?
That's great, dude.
But, yeah. So that was a nice little weekend thing we did.
Well, it's funny because like when you say that, like your girl loves a nice hazy IPA or whatever, like that is what most guys dream of.
I know.
A beer drinking companion. Are you a beer drinker?
No.
I'm not really either.
No. I want a margarita with no salt.
Yeah, that sounds nice to me too, dude.
That's my drink, you know? Give me something that makes me think I'm drinking juice. And then if like after 6 of them I'm drunk, great. But I don't want to know that I don't want to have to suck it up. Every time I drink a sip of whiskey, I wince.
Yeah, I don't like whiskey that much.
I can't just, you know what I mean? I wince. I feel like I'm hurting myself.
Yeah, it goes down hard. It goes down hard. Dude, it's funny. When you said Booth Bay, at one point, probably like 2 years ago, that was the code word that my friends and I used for vagina was Booth. So Booth Bay to me just sounds like a brothel or something. Booth.
Yeah, okay. Or just like
Booth,
a
dude.
port that sailors come into to find lots of whores.
Exactly.
The old Bay of Booth.
The Booth Bay, the Bay of Booth.
Dude, there was a kid on my AAU basketball team who lived in Booth Bay. His name was Roy, which I couldn't believe there was a 14-year-old kid named Roy. I'd never met anyone under the age of 30 who had the name Roy. I thought they stopped giving that name out, you know?
Is that short? It feels like Roy is short for something.
Royland?
Is it short for Reginald or something? Like one of those random abbreviations?
Sound like it. Yeah, it sounds like somebody who's going to like build a hot dog chain, you know?
It does.
Listen, so that was our day on Saturday afternoon, and it was because of the convertible that I got sunburned, right? Because the wind makes you feel cold, but you're getting the sunburn. In the morning on Saturday, I played golf, and it was my first golf round of the year, and I was paired with 3 other people. And it made it very clear, first of all, that Maine does not give a shit about the restrictions, right? Because the golf course in New Jersey that I'm a member at that just opened up, they sent us a list of guidelines for how it's going to go, and it's very strict. They're only allowing twosomes out. You're not allowed, you can't take the flag stick out. You have to wear a mask if you're around the clubhouse. All the practice facilities are closed. I mean, it's very severe.
Yeah.
But Maine, I got paired with a full foursome, and get this, two of the three people I was playing with were doctors. One was an emergency room doctor here in Maine, and she was super relaxed. I mean, came inside of 6 feet of me many times. No masks, very relaxed. The other guy, her husband, was a liver and kidney surgeon.
Yeah.
So what do you think that means?
Oh, wow. You asked him.
Did I ever?
Oh, my God. All right. So in case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, we had an email that was suspicious about someone who knew someone whose kidneys had been extracted and sold on the black market. You got to go back and listen to that episode. But so continue, Francis. What happened?
Yeah, it's Scariest Listener Story Ever is the title of that episode. It was a couple weeks ago. And I started to tell him this story, and I didn't get more than 5 words out before he interrupted me and said, woke up in a bathtub of ice. Did she have stitches in her lower back? He goes, yep, not true at all. We hear that story every single day. Dude,
love it.
He was so great about it. He was like, yeah, you fell for it. It's the old wives. That's their old wives' tale in their profession, you know?
Dude, that's
So,
great.
He had some interesting insight, you know. He said first of all, like almost he was almost insulted that I would imply that a surgery that difficult, that what he does for a living, could be done in a hotel room, right? He was like, you need a medical team. He was almost like, I need this, I need that.
Right,
You know what
right,
I mean?
right. You're like, all right, buddy.
Okay. But then more importantly, he said, look, is it true that there is a black market for organ donors? Yes. And he said that in Iran, the organ black market is huge, and I think it's legal.
Gotcha.
So I don't even know if it's not a black market there. It's just there's a market for organs. And a lot of times poor people will either sell their organs, or I think like people will like take children, like child slaves, and like grow them to the point where they can donate their organs.
Wow.
So there
That's
is some
crazy.
pretty bad shit that happens. And he said that, I said, what's the going rate for a kidney? And he said $30,000.
Wow.
So that number was true.
Right.
Because that's what that email told us, I think, or maybe you had told me that. And then I asked him, how difficult is a kidney transplant? And he said, not that difficult, but that liver transplants are exceptionally difficult.
Interesting.
Because people go into cirrhosis, they get very, very sick. It's a nasty procedure, but he does do that. But kidneys are like 2 or 3 hours in and out.
Isn't it nice how like science is humbling in the sense like you'd never hear a doctor lie about like if you're like, is that hard? You never hear a doctor be like, for most people it's hard, but for me, I can do it in 20 minutes, in and out. Like I can do it with my eyes closed.
Yeah. We say that, and yet were we talking about how we know doctors that have these God complexes? Who was that?
No, we were talking about how everybody thinks their surgeon is the best surgeon on the planet.
That's true.
God complex. I don't know if we talked about that though.
Was it Tom Takar who said that? One of our
Maybe,
guests
I
talked
don't
about
know.
how he didn't trust doctors. He didn't like doctors because they have God complexes. I have an ex-girlfriend whose dad was a very celebrated, big swinging dick orthopedic knee surgeon. And I know that the orthopedic guys tend to be like the jocks of medicine. But he, for sure, was a total narcissist, very arrogant, and not that fun to be around. So not every doctor I've met has been kind of like humble and scientific and,
Right.
what we were just talking about.
Some of them are dicks, dude.
Yeah. But that was pretty wild, dude. It was as if I wished he had, I'd had run into him right around the time of that episode, because here was finally the authority on what we had talked about.
Well, it's nice that came full circle, man. A
Yeah.
lot of good overlap.
Yeah. He was pretty solid at golf too, and his wife was very good. So that was fun.
It was fun. Well, so you were saying something earlier to me about being paired with people.
Yeah. I don't like playing golf with other people.
So, but when you have to play, for example, at your course in New Jersey, which I imagine like the tee times are typically taken, are you being the tee times are typically taken? It's like a fucking tongue twister.
Decision, column silence in a dull, dark dock.
Right, exactly. Do you usually get paired up with people you don't know?
So my course in New Jersey is pretty great, and the membership's very small, so I can just show up there and basically go out whenever I want.
By yourself, if you
Yeah.
want it. Amazing.
And what's also really cool about it, I mean, you've seen it, the holes crisscross and overlap in such a way that, like, if I were to play holes 1 through 3 and then run into a foursome or a lot of traffic on the course, I would be able to jump around to different holes and keep
awesome.
playing and not really be held up that much.
It's great.
But most golf courses, especially on busy afternoons or days on weekends, yeah, you've gotta fill up the tee sheet, right?
Right.
And so, as you can imagine, Saturday in Maine was like our first day over 60 degrees. Everybody wanted to play golf. And so the tee sheet was filled from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. with 4 balls all the way,
Yeah.
And I hate that because I like to play golf as fast as my game will allow me to play.
Right.
And usually I can play 18 holes in 2.5 hours or less.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, but if you're playing alone and you're like a decent golfer and, you don't need to like mark your ball and you don't need to wait for other people, you can play that quickly. That's how
Right.
long the game of golf takes.
Right.
And it's only when you get into like 4 balls and you need to, you're stopping for a beer at the turn and then there's a beer at the clubhouse afterwards and you're warming up beforehand that it becomes a full day affair.
Right. Lunch in between 9 holes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too much.
It's too much. And that's where, like, if you're dating somebody, they get sick of the fact that you're just gone for an entire weekend day to play
Right.
golf. And that's
Right.
reasonable.
Yeah.
But I also don't like playing with women.
Explain.
Well, I don't know that women like playing with men, because if you like playing golf quickly and you're paired in a co-ed group, it means that the women have to wait for the men to tee off at the back tees, and then the men have to wait for the women to tee off. And it just creates this like kind of stop and go motion of the round. And I don't know, it's just so inefficient.
Right. For anybody who doesn't know about golf, there are literally different tees for the men and the women that are different on each hole, and they're different colors. And for whatever reason, I guess gender equality has not yet gotten to the golf course.
Well, it's weird because that's their way of trying to make it equal.
Right.
Because they're acknowledging that the women can't hit it as far as the men, so they should be allowed to play from a little bit closer to the green.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know, dude. I hate playing with people. I just don't like talking. It's always the same small talk bullshit.
Oh, dude, it sucks. And then when you're not talking, it starts to get weird. It's really tiring.
Yeah. But there was another woman in our group, a young woman. She's like 26 or 27, who was actually spectacular at golf. And she had won the club championship 2 years ago. Hits bombs. I mean, was driving the ball like 250, 260. It was really impressive. And I started making jokes because the other woman in our group was also pretty good. And I started making jokes about how, you know, maybe they had a rivalry, and like I was trying to like stir the pot between these two random women that I was playing with. And it was only towards the end of the round that the husband, the liver surgeon, told me that those two women actually had squared off in the club championship 2 years before, and that his wife was leading going into the 17th hole where she collapsed, like blew up, and then the young woman blew past her to win the whole thing. And then I was the asshole for being like, yeah, you're going to take that? You know, I bet she's hitting it farther than you. You're an old woman. Look at you.
Yeah. Jesus, that's hilarious, dude. She had a little fucking Jean Van de Velde at the British Open situation.
Yes.
5-stroke lead or whatever.
Was that Carnoustie, I think? Yeah. That was crazy. I watch old golf highlights a lot these days. Hey, I want to talk to you about Ellen DeGeneres, if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
Okay. So Ellen DeGeneres has been coming under fire recently as stories have come out that she's not a very good person.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out she's not the nicest person to the people that work for her. Now, I don't think she's beating them, but, you know, there was a bodyguard who came out a couple of weeks ago. There was a staffer who had a producer or something who had stories about how she, you know, didn't know people's names, or she wouldn't say hello to people that worked for her when she came into work, and that the Ellen we see on her show is not consistent with the Ellen people see when the cameras are off.
Right.
Adding fuel to that fire was a former bodyguard who had protected her when she was hosting the Oscars, who said that she refused to say hello to him, that he found it demeaning, and just kind of corroborated this narrative that Ellen is not the warm, fuzzy person everyone thinks she is.
Right.
I think this is the biggest load of bullshit I've ever heard. What kind of fucking bodyguard gets upset and feels demeaned when his charge doesn't address him and say hello in the morning?
Right. I'm sure that's not an isolated incident.
My point is like
bodyguarding.
My point is like, why is he going to the press about this?
Right. Yeah,
I'm on Ellen's side. She shouldn't have to say hello to her bodyguard.
Right.
He's getting paid to protect her, not have tea with her.
Not to be pals.
Dude, and this is why if you're hiring a bodyguard, you have to hire a guy from Israel. Those guys do not fuck around.
Right.
They don't need you to pat them on the head, to hand them a little sushi roll. They don't need, those guys mean business. They've got their little squiggly earpiece in, their reflective sunglasses, and they are constantly on the lookout for snipers and bears. They don't need you to affirm their sense of self.
Yeah, that seems like, dude, I feel like it's always a slippery slope when it comes to they were not nice to me when it's celebrities, because you don't know what their day was like. You know what I mean? And like they go through the entire day with everybody trying to like get a memory with them as they're just trying to walk to get coffee. So
Exactly.
this, like, he was a dick. That's like a very tricky thing to really quantify.
I completely agree. And, you know, it could be that a celebrity gets it right with 99% of the people they interact with. And then one day they're just, you know, maybe they find out that a loved one is ill and then get into a fender bender. And by the time they run into the fan, they don't have it in them to be pleasant at that moment. And then that one fan goes to Twitter and says, I just ran into John Krasinski in Brooklyn, and he told me to fuck off when I asked him for a selfie. And then all of a sudden, 7 other people come forward on Reddit and talk about their interactions with John Krasinski. Next thing you know, nobody likes John Krasinski anymore.
Right. Dude, it's true. And I've actually seen celebrities be aware of this phenomenon. I shot a thing with Taylor Swift that is not a big deal, and I think I'm not supposed to talk about it, so I'm not going to get into details.
It's a big deal, and you must talk about it.
Well, I'm going to talk about specifically. I'm literally might not be allowed to. I think I signed an NDA, so I can't whatever. I shot a thing with Taylor Swift, and we did a bunch of scenes together, and we're sitting there, and the whole time, she seemed like she was very aware that we would remember this encounter very well with her, so she wanted to put forth her best self. That's what it seemed like. It seemed like she was too cool. She was too nice, too cool, trying to be like funny and cool and friendly, and then suggested that we all take pictures with her. And it wasn't even because she knew that like we would want that.
Yeah.
She's like a little condescending, but
Yeah.
I also did want the picture. So we took a group picture, and then she's like, should we do individuals too? And we all were like, yeah. So we all take them. And then like we had to check our phones at the beginning of the day. So we had them in those bags so we could use them. So she's like, let's take, and then she like made one of the guys working there. I don't know if he was with her or who he was with. And he took pictures for all of us. And then she was like, make sure they get these. And we never got them. Like I never got it. And dude, I even DM'd her asking for if she had the pic.
Shit. Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of a bummer, dude. So there's like an individual pic of you and T Swift out there and you don't have it?
It's floating around there somewhere. I'll probably never get it. And dude, it's funny because I got duped into like to asking for this picture. Like I didn't want a picture. I didn't ask for a picture. I didn't like, it would have been cool, but you know, I wasn't. And then I was offered this opportunity and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then no picture. And then I fucking DM'd her like an idiot.
What if that's how what if she just gets off to the like blue balls of not giving out pictures of herself?
Right? I mean, dude, she was very
gets your
nice.
hopes up.
She was lovely. And I would say anytime I've been around any celebrity like that who is like famous enough that they don't want you to like, they want you to think they were cool at the time you met them, you know?
Yeah.
I feel that they feel this pressure.
Right. Yeah, Chris is saying she's like that with a lot of fans. I mean, look, she has that level of superstardom where, you know, I think it's just impossible to navigate. Even listening to what you just said, you're second guessing her goodness.
I know. Dude, she was lovely.
What I mean?
She was so cool. She was so lovely. She was hot too.
Oh, she's stunning. Her, you know, she's like, isn't she very tall as well?
Dude, she's a fucking woman, man. She's like, she's not a girl anymore, dude.
No.
She's a fucking woman. She is a grown-ass, gorgeous woman.
Well, there was that famous moment where she sang at the Victoria's Secret fashion show and performed down the runway, and everyone was saying that it was, you know, hard to tell her apart from the angels or whatever.
Dude, that's amazing.
Well, you know, it's a tough thing to navigate. I think as a celebrity, you basically have to pitch a perfect game from a PR perspective in order to never fall
well
afoul.
Well said, dude. They build you up to take you down.
Yeah, of anyone's, and especially in the age of social media, it's like anyone can put out their one little bad experience. Dude, there was a famous story at Barstool. There was this guy named Glennie Balls that I used to kind of work with. He was like this 300-pound iceberg and just didn't really do a whole lot. You know, he did these burger reviews, but he was a goofball. He was a nice kid. And I heard once this story about how he was at this place called the Bordy Barn in Long Island. You ever heard of that place?
Ricky used to talk. It's in Hampton Bays or something.
Yeah, it's like on the way home from the Hamptons, and
Ricky
you get
used to
these smiley face stickers for every beer that you drink. And so, you'd get, oh man, some days you'd be coming home on the train from Montauk and you'd be so spent from staying up late and boozing hard yourself, and you just wanted peace and quiet. And if you'd gotten on the wrong train at like 6 p.m. or something, when you got to Hampton Bays, all these really drunk kids would get on covered in smiley faces, and they would just be peeing into Gatorade bottles and just acting like fucking hooligans. And I hated them, and I therefore hated that spot. But I think the story was that Glenny Balls was at the Bordy Bar one day, and he was like crushing Bud Heavies. That was his drink. And he had this way of sucking them down. Like, he didn't just drink it. He would actually suck the beer out of the bottle like it was a pacifier. I watched him do it. It was amazing.
That's hilarious.
And he like fell asleep at a picnic table or something. And a fan came up to him and like shook him and was like, Glenny, I'm a huge fan. Like, I want to take a picture. Can you take a picture? And Glenny Balls was like, fuck off. And then the story was that Glenny Balls had told a fan to fuck off who had asked him for a picture.
Yeah, dude, exactly.
And it's like, well, the
Perfect
dude
example.
was in a coma. You know what I mean? What do you expect?
Yeah, dude, you're right. You said it really well with the perfect game thing.
Yeah.
Like, you really have to put your perfect game or you will. And dude, that's the thing. It's like you have this window of time to make your money. And like, if I was really famous, dude, I would try to just save all that money anticipating my downfall in the near future.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
All right. One last story on this.
Dude, what? All right, go ahead.
You
Sorry.
go ahead. You go ahead.
No. I was going to say something else. So go ahead.
Well, to your point about Taylor Swift, saying, let's take a picture, right? That woman has been asked by the majority of the people that she's probably ever encountered since her 15th birthday have asked her to take a picture, right?
Right.
So it's pretty normal for her to assume that anyone she meets is going to actually want a picture. And whether they ask or not, even if they don't, they're either just being like, there aren't that many people that she would be like, want a picture? And they'd be like, no.
Yeah, right. Everybody would want the picture.
I went and played Philly Helium right before the coronavirus curtain fell. And I think it was the late show on Friday where afterwards I came out to do a meet and greet. And I came out. Have you ever done Philly Helium? You ever done shows there?
Punchline is the only club I've done in Philly.
That's great too. But okay, so you can actually walk out from the green room to the street and then kind of come back into the club where people are coming out. And so I walked out to the street and there were a bunch of people there kind of like milling around, having cigarettes, just figuring out their next move. And a couple people came up and they were like, great show, really loved it. We take a picture. And I was like, yeah, of course. And I was saying hi to everyone. I was, shaking hands, all that. And then I came up to this group of people as I was kind of moving from one group to the next. And I was like, hey guys, thanks so much for coming, yada, yada. And like one dude, I like shook his hand and he like kind of didn't want to shake my hand. And he was like, what makes you think, I think he said something like, what makes you think I want to talk to you? That's what he said to me.
Oh my God. Was he fucked up? Was he with his girlfriend?
I think he was. There were like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
But it was the guy who had the mindset you had with Taylor Swift, except, times 1,000, right?
Yeah.
Where he was like, he was basically like, you are the only one who thinks of the two of us that we should meet. And he was letting me know. And I wasn't being like, do you want a picture?
Right.
I was just like, thanks for coming.
You were being like really nice. And you actually are just you're a really nice guy.
Thank
you really are. You really are, man.
It blew me away that this guy, maybe I wanted to meet him.
But dude, exactly. There you go. It's like the inception of this kind of encounter where like you're actually being nice and he is questioning you being nice the way that I did with Taylor Swift. He's like, oh yeah, you think I want to talk to you? Fuck you, dude.
This is a dude who paid money to come see me perform. And didn't like heckle me and get kicked out of the show. So it's a pretty reasonable assumption for me that, like, you know, at the very least, I want to thank him for coming and that he knew who I was, right?
Totally.
But boy, he wasn't happy. He just totally matumboed me from my press tour, and that was that.
That was that. You haven't had a chance to make up for it because it was the last show.
That was. What were you going to say? I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you were not interrupting. That I was just going to say, welcome to all our new listeners. Thank you guys, and also thank you to our ride or dies. And hopefully the new listeners become ride or dies as well. We're having fun here, so we enjoy having you guys here.
Dude, I gotta say, I don't know if it was the weather, but I woke up this morning feeling really good.
Oh, really?
This was the first day I've woken up and kind of had a morning where I thought, man, like I'm optimistic. I'm excited. Let's make things. Let's create.
That's awesome.
Because I've had good days, but the prevailing thought that accompanied those days was like, it's not so bad. Right. We can endure this. We're going to make it. Today was like, this is great. Life is good. Let's create something that will exist after all of this.
Right. That's great, dude. It's a great feeling to have.
Do you ever worry that there are people out there right now making things that are going to make the rest of us fall behind once all of this ends?
You mentioned that. And no, because dude, realistically, it's not about them. It's about us. So like you have all the power to be doing whatever it is you want to be doing. You know what I mean? So people are always going to be making stuff. Yeah. So if you want to make stuff too, you can make stuff too. But the idea of other people making stuff and getting ahead of me, there's always going to be people ahead of me.
Right.
So it doesn't really stress me out that much. I do sometimes feel pressure to make things if I haven't for a while. If I'm like, all right, it's been a while since I've done this, I should probably do that now. I do have those thoughts from time to time, but I don't really feel pressure, to be honest. I'm assuming that means that you've thought about it a little?
Well, I don't know. I told you I think my manager was the one who kind of kicked me in the pants a little and said like, come on, dude, let's get moving here. But that was a good wake-up call. I needed that. I got one more thing I wanted to bring up to you.
Go ahead.
J. Crew has filed for bankruptcy. Were you ever a J. Crew guy?
I had a girlfriend who tried to make me preppy once.
Yeah.
And they were buying me all this fucking Nantucket red and blue and light blue and all this shit. But I was never like a J. Crew guy per se. I had some items, but.
Light blue shit.
I had a little preppy phase.
You
what about you?
Well, it sounds like the preppiness was foisted upon you, so I don't even blame you. I wouldn't call that a phase. I would call that a servitude to prep.
Yeah, I gave it a shot.
I was a big, we called it Jacques Crew.
I like that.
To try to francophone it a little bit. Dude, J. Crew was an important part of my life. Yeah, big time. It was the nest that cradled me as a baby bird before I felt adventurous enough to take the risks and explore other fashion brands.
That's very nice, dude.
Everything they made just fit the same way. And
that's always nice.
Yeah. From the age of 22 to 26, I had a lot of J. Crew. I mean, that was like my fail-safe, tried and true. The problem with it was that whatever you bought from that store, if you went to a pregame in the 4th floor of a walk-up apartment in Murray Hill wearing that flannel, there would be 3 other people wearing the same exact fucking shirt.
Interesting.
And you didn't want to stand around those guys because you were like, it's going to look like we're going to do a synchronized dance or something,
That's funny.
And it just, everyone shopped there. Every basic white bro shopped there. Everyone bought the new flannel when it came out in the fall. And it was so ubiquitous that it became embarrassing. So eventually I stopped for the sake of not being uniform, you know?
That's funny. J. Crew was solid. It was a good price point. And also, like, the clothes would look better when they got a little sun. When they got like a little faded, they would have that kind of like distressed good. It was good, durable clothing.
Yeah, but the quality went to shit, I think, at a certain point. I think they were like bought out by a different company who started fiddling with the margins, probably lowered manufacturing costs. And I just remember like stuff shrank.
Yeah, no, I felt like J. Crew was sort of on the outs maybe. And I like, it seemed like maybe this was coming regardless of coronavirus related issues. I don't know though.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I wrote a blog the other day about how, do you know Rag and Bone?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're kind of like a better, more edgy, fashion-forward version of J. Crew. I don't know. They're like a step up, obviously.
More urban.
Sure. And they, I've bought a lot of Rag and Bone shit over the years, and they always have these like 75% off sales and stuff. And I got an email that was this letter from their founder that was saying, it said like, why we're lowering our prices.
Oh.
And it was this heartfelt, kind of plea to the Rag and Bone community. And it was typed up on this parchment looking paper and then photographed and sent to a mass email list. And he wrote it as though, we're doing this from the generosity of our hearts. We realize these are tough times. So we're offering, we're lowering our prices. It was just a fucking sale, just a regular sale that he was using the coronavirus to help bolster their clothing sales, to sell jeans. It pissed me off.
Well, maybe they were really struggling too, though.
I mean, these are not brands that I feel, these aren't brands that I feel that bad for. I feel bad for like restaurants, right, and for bars and for people that are working hard and like whatever, normal places.
Totally.
But
agreed.
A retail store that sells blue jeans for $240 and has, almost 200 stores nationwide, and then lowers their jeans from $240 to $210.
Right. Give me a break with the parchment.
Give me a fucking break.
Yeah, agreed. Dude, it's funny. I used to work at Calvin Klein temping. And I would do like pretty easy shit, just kind of like organizing the clothes, whatever. At the corporate office though. So sometimes we would just get these samples and we could take shit home with us when they had extras. So I would get a lot of stuff. So one time I had an audition where my friend James, who you guys might know from Handsome Dancer, he also made that insane video of my pictures from Jordan.
Yeah. James Manzanello or whatever?
James Manzello, yeah.
Manzello, yeah.
So anyway, we have the same commercial agent and we went on an audition together. So I thought it would be funny if we just wore the exact same outfit and didn't say anything about it when they asked us.
Yeah.
Kind of like what the South Park guys when they wore dresses. Not as funny as that, but
yeah.
But so we'd go in these auditions wearing the exact same thing. And the casting director would be like, oh, it's funny you guys wore the same thing. And we'd be like, we're just so happy we get to audition together. It's so much fun. Like, just completely avoid the question. It was fun, dude.
Was it a distinct outfit? I mean, was
very like a light purple polo shirt, the exact same pants, the exact same everything, dude. It was really spot on. The exact same outfit.
Love that.
Very enjoyable.
Dude, Cinco de Mayo.
Oh yeah, is tomorrow, right? Or today?
Yeah, today.
Listening to this.
Corona does some insane number of its sales on Cinco de Mayo or in the lead up to it.
Right.
I have to wonder if anyone's going to celebrate the Cinco de Mayo this year.
I hope so, man. Listen, guys, if you're taking this out on a Mexican beer company that happens to coincidentally have the same name, like you're an idiot. Right. Like if you want to drink Coronas, drink them. Like enjoy yourself. Just don't do it next to other people.
I guess my question is, beyond that, the obvious name conflating, whatever it is. Do you Do you think people are going to be celebrating holidays in all of this?
Listen, I think that eventually, yeah. Like right now, and even right now, man, like I'm noticing people are just kind of like used to wearing masks in public.
Yeah.
And like it's fine. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like it sucks, but it's gonna not like eventually it's not gonna be like this.
Right.
You know what I mean? And for now it's like this, and it doesn't feel like it's as shitty as it was at first when the numbers were just doubling every day and we didn't know when that would stop. And you know what I mean? Like it seems like as long as we relax and take our time to get back into things, we'll be all right. So I think that we can enjoy our holidays responsibly, you know?
Hell yeah. Agree. And it seems like the world is slowly warming up the engines again,
Totally.
which is great. But for now, that's Oops the Podcast on a lovely Tuesday. What do you
Dude, can
got?
I sneak in one more thing before
Please.
we...
Sorry. Yes.
No, it's okay. It's okay. This is quick, but this is funny. It's not that funny, but my parents got scammed this weekend trying to sign up for HBO. I was like, how in the fucking world? So my dad Googled Amazon customer service. Apparently they were trying to get it through Amazon. He somehow ends up with this wrong number, a 425 number. So everybody beware about this, I guess, if you're getting into the situation. So he basically got into the situation where the customer service guy, quote unquote, convinced him to do a screen share on his computer and like ended up zelling money out of his account.
Oh my God. Dude.
Like $1,000, like something that sucks. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
My dad was so pissed. And then later in the day, he gets a call back from the guy's supervisor at Amazon being like, we're so sorry about this. He scammed 10 other people. And I'm like, Dad, this guy's also scamming you. He's grooming you to re-scam you. Like,
right.
My dad goes, dude, this is a great quote. He goes, if I were any stupider, you'd have to water me 3 times a day. That's fucking hilarious. So my poor parents, I bought them an Apple TV. I'm like, guys, you need to stop fucking calling to get HBO.
Yeah.
Download the app and sign up in the app. Are you literally kidding me?
Yeah. Oh, that's great though. Oh, that's funny. How's his English?
My dad?
Is it 100%?
100%.
Does he have any accent?
I don't think so. I've heard people say that they hear that my parents have an accent, but I don't hear it, and I'm pretty sure they don't. Like, you might not think so. They've lived here most of their lives. And yeah, my dad's he's not like, they're not very scammable in theory. Like, my dad's very smart. He's like, and he's not the kind of a guy that gets like taken advantage of over the phone kind of guy.
Right.
It's surprising to me that he fell for that.
Yeah.
But
it's funny, dude. You mentioned like, sometimes I'll talk to an Uber driver on the way to the airport who speaks good English but has a very thick accent, and I'm like, how long you been living here? And they say like 27 years,
Right.
and you're like, how is it possible you still have such a thick? I go to England for a weekend and I start speaking with a British accent.
Right.
For a weekend. I don't know. I guess some accents are harder to shake, but I don't know.
Whatever.
Buddy, good to see you. That was a fun
Likewise,
episode.
man.
Yeah.
Always
Positive vibes to start this week off. We're Oops the Podcast. Send us your quarantine stories, your mistakes, anything funny you got to oopsthepodcast@gmail.com. You could also DM them to our Oops the Podcast Instagram account. He is not Julio with a J on Instagram. I am at Francis CC Ellis. We will see you on Thursday.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.